certain things that you have to do to, get yourself, platform yourself a little bit. And I just couldn't do that. I don't know why. So depending on the scale of the project, I will collaborate with people. Yeah, I had a lot of older mentors in my life. That's one thing I'm so blessed by, is that there was such a high value for creativity for me growing up. There are moments where I'm equipping, building, but then there's also seasons where I trust my team and I'm just sitting in the dreamer seat again.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Cut. Thank you guys so much for joining for episode 16. This has just been an amazing journey over the past 16 or 15 episodes. And today I have my friend Reuben. Reuben, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yep. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for this opportunity to join these conversations. I've been watching some of the past episodes, and I just want to say, first and foremost, you're doing an incredible job. So thank you for bringing all the stories, bringing the people's backgrounds and their history, and I'm enjoying every single episode so far. Just a little bit of background of who I am. Like Jonathan mentioned, my name is Reuben Philip. I serve at Metro Church as a worship and creative pastor. I've been there for 6 years, going on 7. I'm also married to my incredible wife. Her name is Jennifer. We've been married for 7 years, going on 8. And so my role at Metro is that I oversee all of our worship and creative ministries. From the creative side, I oversee all of our videographers, photographers, capture team. And I oversee everything from all the graphical content, the visual assets, and overall any of the aesthetic and any of the experiences that when you come in, that people get when they come to church. I also oversee all of our incredible worship teams, from all of our musicians, singers, worship leaders, volunteers. And so my role is both that of discipling people, but also inspiring, with the intention of creating a creative experience that supports both the creativity of the church, but also moving the mission of the church forward.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. What made you want to start serving in a creative director role, especially within a church setting?
Well, it's funny because that was never my intentions. I didn't even know this role was ever created. It was a role specifically created for me. So some prior history before this was my background is in marketing, digital marketing. And so I went to school for that. And right after I graduated, I worked for a really awesome company here in Dallas for about 6 months. And being in the corporate world, I think people's experiences are different, but mine was a little bit more harder. I felt like it was really cutthroat. Even friends that I had were doing things in the corporate world that I just didn't enjoy. And so there are certain things that you have to do to, get yourself, platform yourself a little bit. And I just couldn't do that. I don't know why. So also I was just married at that time. So one thing I've asked my wife was, hey, can I leave my job? This job had the opportunity for more promotions, to get me ahead in my career. But I asked my wife, I just don't feel like this is what God is calling me to. And so I just left the job off a whim. And I had no plans after that, And so imagine being just married and you need some steady income and you don't have that, But with faith, I believe God will open up doors. And so before this job, I was going to school and I was what they call a music director at my school. And I served there for 2 years. So there will be a lot of pastors that come through our chapel services that would just come to our school, and I would get to know them. And a lot of them, I just build relationships with them. So right when I resigned from my job, one by one, I was getting all of these job opportunities, pastors from Galveston, from San Antonio, from all parts of the United States asking, hey, and they didn't even know I left my job. They were just like, hey, we're looking for somebody to come work for us at our church.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what God was doing at that time, but at the same time, I was going to Metro Church as just a congregant. I was just attending. And I remember going to our senior pastor and asking him, hey, I've been getting these job offers. I don't know what decision I will make. I probably won't even go into ministry, but I just want you to know that these are the offers that are on the table. And then our pastors came back and told us that they are, Jonathan, there's some feedback that I'm hearing as well. I don't know if, okay, it's coming.
Maybe not right.
Okay, sorry.
That's my fault.
Yeah, no worries. So then our pastors were like, hey, don't make a decision. Before you make a decision, we want to offer you a job as a student pastor. And so keep in mind, I have no family that's in ministry. I have no history in ministry, but I felt the Holy Spirit leading me and was like, hey, you need to make a decision to continue. So I decided to work at Metro. This was about, again, 6 years ago. And so 3 years I served as a student pastor. And then now this next 3 to 4 years, I am currently in the role as a worship and creative pastor. So again, this role was never existed. Maybe in other church worlds, but especially in the South Indian churches, there's no role that's called creative pastor. So people don't even still know what that is. That role is very ambiguous right now still. But it's only until I show people what I do, when I show them the videos that I create, the teams that we lead, the visuals that we create, the graphics we create, that's when people understand the value of it. And so now you'll start to see a lot more churches diving into that. But definitely this is a new role for me. And so combining both of those worlds, it wasn't something that I was ready for. But now I'm so excited to be able to be called a creative and worship pastor. It's been so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. At least from because you're also, in addition to being a creative director, it also sounds like you're a producer as well, where you're just kind of overseeing things. When you are trying to do higher production content for whatever promo you have going on, or for Easter, for Christmas, or something like that, do you only have people in the church helping you with that, or do you are there contractors, or how does that work?
Yeah, so depending on the scale of the project, I will collaborate with people. So that's one thing I love, is getting other people's ideas, and it only makes our projects better. And so depending on the scale of the project, we'll outsource it. I will kind of be in the creative director role, so I'm like moving pieces around and getting the vision to the end product. But I mean, most of the time is like building and equipping our creatives at our church, instilling value in them. I know you had Joseph on your podcast last week, so he's one of those people. When you see value in them, you build on that. And so at first, maybe they don't see it in themselves, but that's where you bring your technical skills and your gifts, and you show them how a camera works. This is this is aperture. This is shutter speed. Start with the basics, and then over time they kind of tap into their creativity, and then so now it goes from a teacher to a student relationship to now like a creative think tank. You bring all these guys into a room together and be like, hey, what's the idea that we want to execute? And most of the time you just trust them, and sometimes the things that they come up with are so much better than what you thought of or you could ever think of. So our church is kind of evolving in a space like that, where there's more creatives that I can lean on to get more projects done. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. How did you get to a place where you wanted to start teaching others how to do it themselves? Because I know that's not necessarily something super common within the South Asian Indian community, especially within a church setting. How did you want to help? How did you come to that realization of wanting to be able to help others?
Yeah, I had a lot of older mentors in my life. That's one thing I'm so blessed by, is that there was such a high value for creativity for me growing up. I had a lot of like older brothers and mentors who were musicians, they were singers, photographers. I don't know why that was for me, but I think I was just exposed to it at such a young age. So I thought that was always a normal. Like I thought this was normal to have people who are creating, are doing innovative things that are inspiring. And so I think I just use a little bit of that to also be an influence for those at our church and in our community. It just comes from a deep passion that I've had. And so I think one of my highest values that I hold on to is discipling the next generation and being able to equip them and, put everything else aside, my creative gifts, my role as a creative pastor, put all that aside. The number one thing that I think is most important is being able to pour into the next generation. And so the one way that I feel like I can give back to the next generation is all these technical and creative gifts that God has instilled in me.
Yeah. And I also think that it's super important that us as believers realize that we're all not supposed to be doing the exact same thing. And that we're all called to be in different spaces. Some of us are supposed to be at least on the pastoral team. And I think we're called the body of Christ for a reason, because not everybody has the same role in the same position. But every role and everything is important. So yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. That's definitely interesting, because I haven't heard too many people thus far who actually grew up with creativeness, that sense of creativeness fostered throughout their childhood and adulthood. So that's good. That's good to hear that. And I totally agree about wanting to help disciple the next generation, because that's something that I'm trying to do as well. So that's cool that you're doing it too.
Yeah, so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you seen, since you have stepped into this position, have you seen things improve in quantity and quality since you've stepped into this position? And do you see yourself kind of like scaling even more? Because obviously Metro is it's growing rapidly. So as it grows, do you see yourself scaling with it, or what do you think?
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes, or I guess the definition of what a creative is someone who can imagine and can innovate what the future can look like, or can push the future forward. And so that is sometimes a seat that I occupy at Metro. Sometimes people say I'm too much of a dreamer. So it's like, if you think of like a balloon, they try to pull me down so I can come back more to reality. But in an organization, there needs to be someone who has that creative, that dreamer type of mindset, because you can kind of see the future before other people can see it. Now, visionary is someone that can bring those people to that set future, right? And so at Metro, we're always like innovating. We're always imagining, we're always thinking about what the future can look like, So I play a dual role at Metro. So the one role that I play is a person who always thinks what Metro can be for the future. But then another role that I play is bringing those people up to the standard, to be able to be a part of the vision that we are creating together. Because also, I don't want to do this by myself. That's no fun. It's no fun being your own videographer, DP, producer, director. That's not fun. So you want to be able to build up and strengthen other people around you to make your job a little bit more easier. So there are seasons where I am teaching. There are moments where I'm equipping, building. But then there's also seasons where I trust my team and I'm just sitting in the dreamer seat again. And I'm thinking about what the next evolution or future of Metro could be, So it's really cool when you have leaders that trust you enough to be able to do that, because not every organization has that. And not every organization has leaders that believe in you, And so I'm just grateful for Metro that we have great leaders and people who say, we believe in you, we believe in your gifts, and we know that you can do the things that you're dreaming up and you're envisioning for the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. How did I guess, because on your LinkedIn you had, I believe you graduated from, correct me if I'm wrong, from
Mhm.
seminary. Um,
Yeah.
how does that play into what you're doing right now
Oh,
in
it's so
any?
important. Yeah, it's so important, Jonathan. I think, especially if you're serving in a church space, if you are in any faith background that you have, um, like one part of who we are is the God-given gifts that He's given us to expand the gospel through our creativity. Oftentimes, like we as creatives, and it's not always bad necessarily, I should say, that we do this, but we sometimes create because we want our stories to be platformed. We want our desires or our visions to be in the forefront. But how much more cooler is it when you can partner with God to be able to get His story
Yeah.
platformed and in the forefront, right? And so, a lot of my I just graduated actually this past Saturday from Fuller, so
Okay.
I just got done. But the biggest thing that I've learned is, so theology is a study of God, right? And so one of the values, and if you read in Genesis 1:1, it says that God created, right? It's the first phrase that you read about. And so we know that God is the greatest creator, right? And so when we hear this phrase called imago Dei, that means that we are created in His image. That means we are wired to be creatives.
Yeah.
That we don't just create just to create, but that's God's design for us, And so when we have the Creator of all creation inspiring us, imagine the things that we could do, right? If
Right.
He created the
Right.
heavens and the earth, the beautiful trees and all the animals, the various hues and the colors. Could you imagine what we can create through that if we can tap into the Holy Spirit, like you mentioned, and
Yeah.
through God's vision for us? The possibilities are endless. So I saw this world, these two worlds coming together, my creative expression and the understanding of who God was, and bringing those two worlds together has been such a fun experience, has been such a fun relationship that I've developed that's much more deeper with God. And I encourage a lot of creatives to always give glory to God at the end of the day. I will never do anything that doesn't either equip people or doesn't give glory to God. So
Yeah.
those are the two values that I hold on to: is does it equip people, and does it give glory to God? And
Yeah.
if even if one of them I don't have the right answer or God doesn't give me clarity on, I will never do it. So I think it's really important for creatives to understand what they're doing and who they're
Yeah.
doing it for.
Yeah. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
also think that there's so much beauty in when God gives us the inspiration to do something. I think that me and my friend, we've been going to a film festival. We went to one yesterday, and it's till Saturday. And just things that other people are making that are not faith based or anything like that. It's kind of disturbing, without like mincing any words. Um, no, I think the thing is with art, it's subjective. So if they think it's cool, then the creator will think it's cool. But from a believer standpoint, a part of what I was watching was kind of disturbing to my spirit, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, I don't like that. And to me, the main reason as to why I feel like God called me to this space is because people need to be reminded that Jesus is the one who made all of this, and people need to be reminded that there is still light, and that in the midst of a world filled with darkness, He is still the creator of all, and we should
Mhm.
still be pointing everything to Him. And to see things that are not doing that and kind of doing quite the opposite, it makes me sad, because I wish that everybody knew that if you really fixed your eyes upon Christ, I mean, how much if what you're making right now you think is cool, how much more if you actually were to just devote yourself to Christ. Um,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
so,
I don't know where we got it wrong. I don't know where Christians stopped being creative, or Christians, I shouldn't say stopped, or couldn't be creative or couldn't stop inspiring culture and impacting culture. I think that we have some of the most talented people. I think that some of the best musicians, creatives, videographers, photographers, film directors are still out there. They just haven't been able to get the opportunities. And so I think our stories need to be shared more. I think there's still so much more storytelling. We can do a separate podcast on just the storytelling aspect of creatives, right? And so some of my favorite like series out there nowadays, because I love when you combine excellence with creativity, and so like for example, Chosen. It has been an amazing series, and I don't think Chosen is only just for Christians. Like I feel like this can be shared for people who are not even believers, and they can watch it and say, man, the cinematography is amazing, the scripts, the storylines are awesome. And then while they're watching all those excellent parts of the series, they're also getting the gospel. They're getting the message of who Jesus is through that. Another one is the story of David, the cinematic story. And it's so cool, dude, like to see Goliath and David, but it's not like the cute Sunday school stories that we read, but it's very gory. It looks very like epic and very cinematic. And so that's what the Bible is. And so there are still people out there, like filmmakers out there, that will have the ability to continue to share some of these amazing stories and be able to connect faith through the experience of awesome filmmaking.
Yeah. No, it's so true because I went and watched a movie recently. It's called Crime 101. And I'll have to say it was kind of disappointing because I'm a big fan of John Wick. I like those types of movies. And it had that type of heist movie type vibe to it when I watched the trailer. I just needed something to do, so I just went and watched it. And so when I watched it, it didn't have a compelling story. What contradicted that was the fact that the production quality was phenomenal. The cinematography was insane. That like it was so well done. However, the story just fell flat. And I just feel like with a lot of movies nowadays, that is the case where the production quality, production value is through the roof. It's so good. But then you just have the storytelling that just falls flat. And you're just like, we need a good story. That is the basis of any good film, book, or TV series. Like you name it. Without a good story, people are not going to watch it. People are not going to. And at least for me, I feel like I need to feel different after I watch something. Like if you were to compare a really well-written movie to something that is not, you can feel the difference. I feel like I want to, especially after, for example, like the Creed movies or Rocky movies. Like you see the training montage, and I just feel like I need to get to the gym and just go crazy, right? But if you were to compare that to Crime 101, you're just like, okay, the production quality was there, but the storytelling aspect was just not. It just didn't hit. So how can we apply the storytelling aspect and still be able to tell a compelling story that is filled with emotion and is able to tug at the heartstrings of humanity and be able to convey that through the lens of a camera? Because the cameras will only continue to get better, but it's the writing that I feel like has gone backwards. And I want to attribute that potentially to AI, because I feel like, at least with Hollywood writers, I feel like they've gotten incredibly lazy. And
you're right.
It's kind of sad because I'm just like, we're in an age where technology is so advanced, and especially camera technology is just, it's unfathomable, right? And there should be really no excuse as to why you're making a bad movie. And so when you have people, when I feel like the writers are on strike or they're just not writing good, you're just like, what are we doing? Like we need to be making good content. And I just feel like there's only a handful of movies, at least this year alone, that are actually going to be good and actually worth watching. And what does that say about Hollywood? I mean, I already know. I know that it's a very dark place, but I think that there's still a way to bring light to it. And then it really comes back to us, the creatives who are willing to put themselves out there and to make a good story, even if not everybody's going to like it, you know? So those are just my thoughts about that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So at least from a writing aspect or pre-production to post-production aspect, what are your thoughts on the use of artificial intelligence to help with the efficiency of it? Because I use it for helping when I'm planning out a movie, because me and my friend are working on our debut feature film. And so I'm like, I use it to help with picking out shooting locations, a production timeline, budgets. That's what I use it for. But I am very highly against using it for the actual filming itself and for the post-production work. But I think pre-production is okay because for the most part, now when it comes to the script writing, perhaps when it's like when the concepts of a script, but not the actual writing itself. What are your thoughts about that?
That's a good question. I think it's a new world. I'm just discovering it. I think I just used it on a film recently. So we use motion array and Higgs field. I think those are the two. To your point, yes, 90% of it was pre-production. Not writing the script for me, because I think the storytelling and the storyboarding are two important things that I will handle myself, especially if it's a story that is unique to me or the experiences of the people that I'm showing the film to. So I start there, and then so as I'm storyboarding, I'm looking at each shot, and I'm thinking to myself, am I able to rent a location? Am I able to get the talent for this? So I'm evaluating all the pros and cons, and if I could do most of it practical, that's a route I want to go, but then, obviously cost is there for the budget of the film. Those matter. And so all those things come into a factor before I decide if AI is going to influence the film. And so another thing is like VFX, right? I'm not a VFX artist. So, and I know hiring a VFX artist is expensive. So I will use AI to kind of give me the visual VFX that I need. But this is where a good editor and someone who can composite really well can come in, where you could take the practical elements and then I will say AI visual elements and basically blend those two worlds together. And so recently, I'll give you an example. I just did a film about a farmer in India who he's waiting for the rain to come, but his fields have completely been destroyed by like fire. And so I'm like, where am I going to have practical fire? And so I actually 90% of the film was taken in my backyard. And then actually I should say like maybe 60% was taken in my backyard. Another 30-40% was taken in other locations. Right. But then when I put the storyboarding of every shot, I realized, man, it'd be cool to get fire in this shot. And so I tried going to motion array, getting like these digital assets. It just didn't look good, So I just typed a prompt in really quick, add fire here. And, it just made the shot a little bit more dynamic. So for me, the story is very integral. And if it doesn't look janky, if I'm doing something and it's like, it takes you away from the story and someone's like, someone's like, man, that's definitely VFX. I mean, AI, that's definitely AI. Then I don't want, what do they call it? Uncanny Valley, right?
Yeah.
When you go through Uncanny Valley, that's what I don't want people to experience in my film. So I will actually spend probably a majority of my time getting my prompt right, and then also evaluating how the shot actually looks, the color grading and all that stuff. So from an editor perspective, I use AI to push the story forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make some sense, John?
Yeah, no, it does. Because I feel like I'm wanting to roughly do the same thing, because I know VFX artists and I know editors, but like you said, it is expensive. And when you're a one-man show, or where you're working with a very limited budget, sure, if you find people who are willing to do it for free, great. If not, you got to make do with what you have. And then this stuff is readily available. I mean, more often than not, you just pay like a subscription or something like that. But I don't disagree, because I don't think that's a wrong usage of it, because especially when you're kind of like tying loose ends together, and you're just bridging the gap, I don't think that's wrong. But when you're using it completely,
yeah, I would say don't let AI drive your story and your film. Just use it as an asset. Just use it as like something that you just lean on when you exhausted all your options, right? Still be in the whole creative process of what cameras do I need? What type of lenses do I need? Storyboarding it, the lighting, getting all that stuff. Like, still stay true to that. Don't just sit in your studio and say, I'm lazy. I'm just going to, prompt everything from beginning to the end. If that's your mindset going into it, I think, and I think a lot of people are starting to do that, but remember, the authenticity and the integrity of who we were as filmmakers is just carrying that heavy camera on our back, and still getting the shot, even if it didn't work. That's the type of attitude, I should say, we should have in filmmaking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, I think of Christopher Nolan when I think of that type of usage of it, because when he was making Interstellar, the cornfield scene, that was not CGI or VFX at all. He planted all those crops and let it grow, and then they shot the whole thing. Now, obviously, not everybody has an Interstellar type budget, but you have to make do with what you have. But then also, the level of authenticity that he had when it came to, he didn't even want to use CGI. Forget about AI, but just CGI. I think that is what separates him as one of the best, my favorite directors, and probably one of the best filmmakers ever, is the fact that he is willing to put in create the authenticity, which I totally agree with.
Yeah. And I love filmmakers that do that, that can combine the practical side of things, because it's also, you're learning things through the process. One of my favorite, recently, one of my friends was telling me about how to recreate sand in shots if you want. So he goes and he buys like brown sugar from the store, and they'll get a fan, and they'll, the brown sugar, is in the shot, and it kind of looks like sand if you can't get a bunch of sand in your shot. And I don't think talent wants sand on their face,
Right.
So a brown sugar is a little bit more pleasing, so I am, to your point, I love people that are thinking like that are creative like that, and so it just makes our work a lot more exciting and authentic.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it just goes back to the idea that collaboration is what makes this field so much fun, and it makes it a lot easier to get things done when you're working with other people, as opposed to you just doing it by yourself. And it's so much better knowing that you have a team with you, and you can bounce ideas off of each other until you figure it out. But you don't have to have it perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect, but as long as you have other people to bounce ideas off of, I think you're much better off doing it with other people and people that you trust than doing it completely on your own. Because I think if I was making a film completely by myself, I think I would hit a brick wall every now and then, and just not know where to turn and probably just give up. But because I've surrounded myself with other people who are very talented and very skilled at what they do, that's what makes this aspect of my life just so enjoyable. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
So great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess from going back a little bit to the church aspect of things, how do you, I guess, storyboard and figure out what type of content needs to come out for your church on like a month-to-month basis or annual basis? Because obviously it depends on the series that you're doing, the messages that are taught, if there's a specific theme or anything like that. Like, how do you come up with those types of ideas? How do you execute those?
Yeah. Okay. So, a lot of times I'm listening to my leaders, my pastors. I'm listening to the community. I got my ears to the ground, and I'm trying to figure out ways where I can encourage our community while creating something very visually dynamic, especially if you're talking about film and storytelling. Usually the story has to have a gospel message in it. Actually, not it has to always have a gospel message in it. Yeah, and so that's one thing that I try to intertwine anytime I'm telling a story. So I think there's like 3 types of stories: is your own story, is the story of your church, and then the story of the people in your church. And so it can always change, right? So when I was making that film about the farmer during a time of losing all of his crops and his harvest time, that was probably more of a story that I wanted to tell, but I had to first get permission from my leaders and my pastors just to make sure it is a story that could connect with everybody else in our church, right? And so once they said, man, this is an awesome story, go ahead, like have fun with it, like go rent the cameras and the gear you need. And so that's one way. The second is the stories of the church. What's the mission of the church? Like recently, we just launched a campus in Frisco. So getting like stories from like their launch and the people in there, how the church came about. And so you'll identify different stories within the church that just brings encouragement to people. So I have to always find creative ways of doing that. So highlighting ministries, highlighting stories of pastors in our church or congregants in our church, So that's one way. And then the last one is like that stories that people in our church want to tell. And sometimes when you have conversations, you discover some of the most impactful stories that you will tell, or the most impactful scripts that you'll have are the testimonies that people are living. And so I try to be as much on the ground, hearing people. And so I would connect with someone who went through a cancer diagnosis and they just had a rough time, but then God brought them through. Or like you'll hear very unique stories like this. And we have this thing called Stories of Generations, and where we highlight different people from different age groups. And we make, it's kind of like a testimony type of video with some B-roll. And we will just tell their story. Whether you're young or you're old, everyone gets an opportunity for their story to be told in the church. Right. And so honestly, you if someone asks me like, what's the projects that you're most proud of? It's not the big budget films or the VFX ones, or that. It's actually the stories that I get to tell about the people in our church, because it encourages me. It encourages my faith so much when I'm just sitting there behind the camera and I'm hearing the stories. And I'm hearing the life of the church, but then I know how much more of an impact it makes to the people that are hearing these stories in our church. So I think those are probably the 3 pillars that I think are so important.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's all about figuring out who your target audience is and making something that that they're going to watch. Me and my friend, we just wrapped on a short film a few months ago that we entered into the Dallas International Film Festival and the Austin Film Festival. And so,
Awesome.
yeah. So one of the film festivals that we entered into, we ended up going to, and it's this weekend right now. So we've been going to, and I personally, as the executive producer of the film, I just wanted to basically learn from our mistakes, because we made a lot of mistakes. Learn from it then, and then also seeing what everybody else was doing, and seeing what type of content these types of film festivals were specifically looking for, especially within those award sections. Like, what are they specifically looking for? And it was very interesting to see how a lot of the films that I saw, I was just like, the concepts are so simple. Like, I thought we had to tell like a full narrative story. Our film was a 25-minute short film, and it was a murder mystery / noir film. And we had a completed story for 25 minutes. And it took us almost a month to film. And then I was comparing it to what everybody else had made. And it was such an easy concept. And so I was talking with one of the directors who his film was screened and it won in that specific category. And I was just asking him, I was just like, what makes, as a director, what kind of a script stands out to you, and how are you wanting to, what makes it stand out, and what makes you want to actually work on that film and bring it to life? And it has you saying one of many things, which is, one, it has to be, you have to hook your audience within the first 10 pages of the script. So anybody that reads it has to be hooked very quickly. It can't be stereotypical, and it has to be such a dumbed down concept that is so easy to explain it to somebody that anybody who has never heard of it, you can explain it to them in like 2 to 3 sentences. And so I'm like, okay, it really made me think twice about what we had produced previously and how we can apply that to our feature film, because I'm just like, this is kind of a pretty big undertaking for us. We it's just kind of like me and him are co-producing it, but we're working with a crew of like 5 to 10 people. And so how, for me, I was just like, how can we learn from our mistakes and apply it to the next one, and not just like continue doing the same thing over and over again, but like let's scale, like let's do it better and bigger this time, and to learn from other people who are successful at it is everything that I've been trying to do for the past 3 years of being in college, of just learning from other filmmakers and other professors who just say, what did you do and what worked for you? And this is what I'm doing. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. How can I improve myself? Because I don't ever want to be the same person I was yesterday. And I think that's super important, especially for anybody who wants to get into this field of the creative field. You have to always be willing to learn from your mistakes and definitely ask for help and seek out constructive criticism. You're not going to like it. You're not going to want to hear it. But when you do, and if you're receptive of it, you're not just closed off, then it's a lot easier to apply that criticism and feedback to your future projects than immediately shutting it down. So it's been an interesting experience, and me and him are hopefully planning on going to the Austin Film Festival in October, which is I believe it's the biggest film festival here in Texas. So I'm excited for that.
Man, I gotta come with you to these. I gotta come with you to these film festivals. I've never been. Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see what other people make and what other people like. Because to me, I'm just like, I don't agree with that story, but the people who selected the film clearly have a different taste. They have like a different rubric that they're looking at. And so learning from that and trying to figure out what what can I do differently to make sure that next time around people actually want to watch it, people want it to win in a category. Because from there it's like how can we continue to elevate and give somebody, at least at a bigger film festival, notices your film, they could potentially want to pick it up and actually produce it, as opposed to a smaller production, but take it to the next level and what that would look like. So that's really, I give all credit to my friend because he's the one that gave me the idea to do it. I'm just like, dude, honestly, I think that's a great idea because I made a lot of good connections while still in school. I was like 1 year left, but he gave me the idea, and I'm just like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Let's go ahead and do that. And from there, it was such a big learning curve, especially from a producer's standpoint, because I'm just like, there's so many more moving parts between shooting locations, actors, your production crew, and your talent. How to get everybody on set for even just 6 to 12 hours, just for like a weekend. I mean, there were so many moving parts, and yet the more I feel like the more stressed out I was, the more I realized how much I actually enjoy this and why I want to continue doing this as my career. So it's been a journey. So, yeah.
Man, you're inspiring me. I love hearing how involved you are and how passionate you are. I mean, it's so cool. I didn't go this route in filmmaking, but if I had to tell my younger self that this could be a path that I could take, I think I would be encouraged. Like if I heard what you're doing now when I was younger, I would definitely feel more courage to want to take the same route. So super proud of you for doing that yourself. Yeah. And exploring that world. Honestly, that's another way that you can give back to the church, going out there, seeing the things that work, seeing the things that don't, what is building the church, what is harming it, and then bringing all those values and just making a better experience for not only our local church, but the whole body of Christ. Right. And so you're doing a great work. So proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I'll be honest, it hasn't been all good. I think, so when you were saying that you were surrounded by creatives throughout your life, I was quite the opposite. I didn't go to an Indian church. My parents grew up in a church, Indian church in New York, and then they left that. And then once they had my older sister and myself and my younger sister, they wanted to, we grew up in an American church. And so that was definitely I believe a very good experience for us because it forced us to be exposed to people of all different backgrounds. And so with that, I was involved in the media team at church. I was definitely super passionate about it, loved it. But then in high school, so background, I was homeschooled my entire life. And so when it came time in high school to figure out what I wanted to do, I did not know. All I knew that I wanted to do was make movies. That's all I knew. And so I started researching some programs, and there were some good ones. But I was the first one in my entire family to do something like this. It was completely unheard of. I mean, my mom was a social worker, and my dad is he's a software developer. I mean, this entire field is completely unheard of. And so me really, unfortunately, I feel like I've been walking on this road by myself for the past 3 years, but I've definitely seen the hand of God throughout all of it, because I've seen how if I continue to devote myself to Him, then I've just seen how people just seem to come towards me, and me being able to make those connections in ways that I would have never expected or imagined. But it was all about me putting myself out there and trusting in God that He will make a way where there seems to be no way, and trusting that dream that He's put inside of me will come into fruition if I continue to put my faith, hope, and trust in Him. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, it's just I've seen it time and time again from the past 3 years alone. And I mean, interestingly enough, I mean, on Tuesday was actually my 21st birthday, and so it was. I made a video and I posted on my Instagram about how I think I've seen just the faithfulness and the goodness of God for the past 21 years, and to see how um, almost like it's just kind of like the beginning of what I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of everything that's to come. And um, yeah, I've seen a lot of good and a lot of bad, but I think in the midst of all the pain and the disappointments and just the way things didn't work out, I've just seen the hand of God throughout all of it, and it's just I'm just trying to be faithful to what He's entrusted me with. So that's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. My life verse, anytime when I'm faced with a fork in the road, is what good is it to gain the whole world but lose your soul? So anytime there's a decision that I had to make, like, is this gratifying me? Is it giving more glory to myself? Is that worth it? Versus probably saying no to it, that opportunity. And sometimes, yeah, it's true. You lose out on something awesome, maybe a connection that you had, maybe money or resources. But at the end of the day, I want to stay true in front of God, and I never want to be the person that said I compromised because that was better for me than to stay true to who I was and who God created me to be. So at the end of the day, that's a choice that we all have to make as creatives, to say, hey, do I want to give myself to this because I gained something out of it? Or do I stay true to God because He has a better plan and a future for me? And I think I would say when I was a lot younger, that discernment was not always there. But as I got older and, trusting in the Holy Spirit, there would be times where sometimes I would be presented with the opportunity and crazy budgets, and people would say, and I would say no to it. And people would say, why did you say no to that thing? And I said, well, I just don't want to lose myself in all of that. And that's not what's important for me. That's not a high value for me. And so to me, if I could tell you this, Jonathan, is that God honors that, And so as long as you're making decisions in partnership with God, it will always work out for you. So yeah. So you're on the right route. You're on the right path. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot tougher than I anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Because like my parents can only help me so much. They have connections, but I'm not asking. They can't just give me a handout, and I've never asked for a handout for anybody. I feel like there's a lot of honor in doing it yourself, or not expecting somebody to just hand it to you, but you earning it along the way, no matter how long it takes. And so doing it like this, really just trying my best to devote myself to the Lord, and trusting that He called me like this into this path to bring light to darkness, and bring unbelievers and people that are far from Christ to Him, has been my driving, it's been my motivation, because I'm just like, I'm walking around my campus, and I'm just like, I've seen not all believers, and I'm just like, I really wish that people knew the joy that I experience because of the fact that I walk with Christ. I wish everybody had the opportunity to, and I hope that God continues to give each of us the boldness to declare and proclaim His word and the gospel in the midst of, persecution and that feeling of being afraid. I think He, like you said, He honors that, and I truly want people to experience the same level of joy that I feel like I've experienced in the past 21 years, and in some capacity, knowing that everything has a purpose, and you were not here on accident, and God has a greater purpose and a greater calling for you. I just feel like everybody needs to be reminded of that, and not everybody was told that growing up. And in any capacity that the Lord chooses to use me through that, and use my testimony for that, for His glory, that's all I want to do. That's all I ever want to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you're already doing that. You're already doing that with these podcasts and these interviews that you're doing. The lives that you're going to impact, the stories that one day you're going to realize, like, someone watched this video and one word that maybe a guest had spoken over them, or something that you might have said on a podcast, changed the trajectory of their life forever. And so the fact that you're 21, happy birthday, by the way,
Thank you.
and you're unashamedly doing this stuff while connecting the creative bridge, the gifts that God has given you, that's all that we can really do, and God is not asking for anything more or anything less. The Bible says, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony. And so even at this age at 21, you're sharing the unique stories of other people, their testimonies, but then how God is transforming you through the process. Like, you're discovering things in the film industry. You're learning things about yourself as a creative, and you'd be surprised that maybe a lot of people might have these thoughts in their mind, but just don't have the language or don't know how to express it. So when Jonathan is sharing these stuff on a public platform like these podcasts, somebody's watching and saying, man, he's experiencing these same feelings. I feel like that. And if anything, like, you keep God as a main thing, you keep God at the center of it all. You're just going to always point people back to Jesus. You're going to always point people back to Christ. And so I think that's all that we can really do, Jonathan. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, I like to ask all my guests, before we're kind of drawing it to a close a little bit, if there is one thing that you would like to share with either people of your generation or people of the next generation, what is that one nugget of wisdom that you'd like to share with those people?
It's a good question. I would say that God created all of us uniquely, and we're all part of God's overall story. We might each have a chapter in it, but each person plays an integral role in God's design and design for creation. And so I just want to encourage people, like, don't give up. Don't be afraid to take risk. Go against the grain sometimes when people says it's easier to go one way, feel the discomfort once in a while, don't be complacent. And to be surrounded by a good community of people who will encourage you, strengthen you, be praying, be in your word. And so just encouraging yourself just to keep going, and so have the passion, let that drive you. And God, we don't know where God could take you. The possibilities are endless, limitless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so well said. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I'm really glad we were able to do this, get this on the books. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all that you shared. I think somebody will be impacted by it in some capacity. I think that when we are reminded or drawn back to the love of Christ in any sort of capacity, I think if just by planting that seed, I think that it can do so much to one person, even if it doesn't affect the masses, but just affects one person. I think that is the key to all of this. So thank you for all that you shared. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. I really appreciated this conversation. And I say this over again, man, just so proud of you, and the spaces that you're creating, and just to be a part of one chapter in your life story is super cool, man. And I hope that there are opportunities in the future for us to collaborate, maybe go to a film festival together. So I'm looking forward to all those awesome moments. Truly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate all the love and support. After this is episode 16, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. I'll come back on July 10th, but thank you guys so much for joining. These past 4 months have just been such a blessing, not just for me, but actually some people have resonated with this, and I can't give any other glory but to God. I think this is all due to Him. So thank you guys again for all the love and support. Stay tuned for the next one. And please like and subscribe, and please share with your friends. Thank you guys for joining, and have a great rest of your day.